Alrighty, folks. Let's talk about Suicide Squad. So, I have put a little bit over 100 hours currently into Suicide Squad. Thankfully, all of those hours were before the recent update that absolutely cripples the game. So, it's not actually like those 100 hours of me just waiting for the game to load. I actually was playing the game and somewhat enjoying it sometimes, at least. Unlike most people as of recent. Who literally fucking can't. Yeah, anyway, I do still, from my initial review, have the opinion that the game is still fun. The gameplay itself is still quite enjoyable. It's funny, because I literally went back yesterday, as of the time of recording this, and tried Gotham Knights for maybe 10 minutes. I was bored to tears. I was trying to get to the point where I could play Heroic Assault with my friends, but I have never played the game through on PlayStation. So I realized that I was going to have to restart the whole game. And I was sitting there like, oh, well, you know what? It'll give me something to stream on the channel. It'll give me something to do. I got about 10 minutes in and I was like, I don't even want to stream this game. I remember struggling to beat it the first time around. It was boring. The story was boring. The gameplay was boring. It was clearly a live service game that wasn't live service anymore. It was brutal. And everything still stays exactly the same because they only updated that game once. And it looks like we're about to be at the same place with Suicide Squad, if they're even going to release the first update, because it's absolutely atrocious. For those who have seen the player count, oh my god. It's worse than Gotham Knights, even though I personally think Gotham Knights is a worse game. The player count of Suicide Squad is atrocious. It's really bad. This is a game that just released. There are games that are very similar at their core, right? Like, I don't know, I haven't played a whole lot of Helldivers, but to me, Helldivers, it's still just a wave-based, I've been told it's not a looter shooter. But it's funny, because, Helldivers 2 just came out, and they are doing spectacularly. Their player count is insane. Their dev team, I believe, from what I've heard, is about half the size of Rocksteady. I guess they're not technically a looter shooter, but at the same time, it's like, conceptually, they're very similar games. All you do is shoot things infinitely, endlessly, until the end of time, for as long as you want. And honestly, Helldivers 2 doesn't look all that fun to me. It just looks like a third-person COD Zombies game, whereas at least Suicide Squad has the added mechanics of fun superhero movement, which is what makes the game for me. Because otherwise, the end game is brutal right now in Suicide Squad. It's so bad. There are 3 missions. One of them is kill things, one of them is protect things, one of them is attack objectives. You've got the wave mode, like I was just talking about, that just endlessly kills zombies forever and ever and ever and ever until you lose. And then you've got the Brainiac boss fight. There are 5 missions in the post-game that actually are rewarding, fulfilling, and interesting. And even then, they are not interesting after about 20 hours of repeating them and then going, oh, well, I have to do them on the higher difficulty now so that I get better stuff. Like, it is bad. You can tell that this game is unfinished as well, just by the fact that the world feels incomplete. If you have put in more than maybe 10 hours into post-game, you will have learned that Lois Lane has 2 lines of dialogue. She talks to Lex Luthor, she talks to Brainiac. That is it. There are thug conversations between the aliens that certainly happen, and I have already gotten them to be repetitive. They've started getting said more and more. The lines Brainiac says to the squad start getting excruciatingly repetitive. And keep in mind, I do have 100 hours on the game, but this is in comparison to... I have hundreds of hours on most of the Arkham games as well. I don't think I've surpassed thousands of hours on any of the Arkham games. Overall, I would say I have at least 1,000 hours on the whole franchise. Like, those games have dialogue that literally doesn't get boring for hundreds of hours. And this game got boring in post-game after 10. It is so hard to live in this world when there is A, nothing to do, and B, I'm hearing the same shit over and 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 over. Oh my god, it's brutal. I will say killing time is fun though. The one thing that did disappoint me is the fire nerf though, because killing time was a blast when I was just mowing down enemies with fire and it was like nothing. Because there was still a point where you would lose, it's still a relatively endless thing. So it's like you're still going to, go endlessly forever. It's still just going to be a how long can I last sort of thing. And now you like when you have the fire shit, you're just playing with the most grossly overpowered thing ever, and it makes it kind of easy, but it still scales, you could just make the enemies scale differently or something. I think they nerfed the fire damage as well as how quickly it scales in killing time. So like you like going from wave 1 to 2 is a lot slower now than it used to be with the fire augment. I'm not sure about that. That's just what I've heard. Super weird, because I saw a lot of people saying they should just buff everything else to that level, and I kind of agree, because it made the game a lot more fun. Now I I start struggling around mastery level like 20 in killing time, maybe like 30 or 40 with some of my better builds, and it's like I made it to 50 pretty effortlessly with fire. That'd be cool. I would love it. And it was just, how much can you break the game? Because it's not like it's a PvP game, you know? You balancing a PvE game, to me at least, seems like a joke. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's not even like it's a pay to win game where you're like, well, you need to give us money for the good. Like, who cares? Like, I don't. You're not making more money if the game is more balanced. Just make it broken as hell so people can have fun. I don't know. I'm not a game dev, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is just my thoughts on my gameplay experience from 100 hours of playing this game. I'm going to call it a shitty game, but I don't know that I can. It has its moments. But it does literally have its moments where it doesn't work either. I forgot about that. For some people literally haven't been able to play the game since it came out. And then finally, it seems like they kind of started fixing the issue. And then as of like a couple of days ago, there was a glitch that showed up that is infinitely loading Metropolis. It literally will sit on this screen that I probably have showing on the video forever, I think. I don't know. I have not played much as of recent. But it seems like this is infinite. It seems like this, like you have to restart the game, because if you get caught in this screen, it will not end. That is terrible. We already had people who literally couldn't launch the game. We're having server connectivity issues. We already had crashing on the servers constantly. I think I crashed maybe half a dozen times while I was playing the campaign, and that wasn't even a me issue. That was a their servers issue, from the seams of it at least, because it wasn't like it was my internet. I was streaming it. It didn't disconnect, you know? And I mean, that probably contributes to the low player count, to be honest. I mean, people literally not being able to play the game is really bad. If you literally can't play a game you spent $100 on, that's brutal. And then they won't refund it either, from what I've heard, if you've already like played the game, you know? So now you've just spent $100 on a game you played for 2 weeks, and now it's unplayable, and now it probably won't even be getting updates, because look at the player count. They're not going to update this game, which sucks. I was looking forward to seeing anything new in the Arkhamverse, but it seems like we just are never, ever, 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 ever going to get that in our lives, because they... The WB just knows how to cater to the casual audience instead of their own audience, and it is hard to watch. It is so hard to watch. I will say, I think one of my least favorite parts of the game is that there's literally a line of dialogue that Brainiac says, discussing how he thinks that the Demon Bat would approve of his methods, and that just feels like WB talking down to us about how, like, the Arkham fans hate live service. And me personally, I don't like brutally despise live service. I think it's a modern part of gaming. It's a part of change. It does, but it does make games like this at the end of the day. It makes games that are half finished, and it makes games that, instead of, you know, getting skins and unlocking them in the game, we have to go to an item shop and we have to pay real money for them. And it's like, that's just how Evolution works, I guess. That's content that they can very easily sell off and update the game with later. But it literally makes for incomplete pieces of art. And now we'll never get to see the full vision of this thing. I don't even know if I can call it art. It wanted to be. It tried in some aspects. But we'll never get to see what it wanted to be, because they couldn't figure it out in the first place. They had no clue. They couldn't... It seemed like this wanted to be a Superman game at first. I mean, based off the idea that it's taking place in Metropolis, right? It wants to be a game about the Justice League to appease the core fans, but it's not a game about the Justice League. It's a game about the Suicide Squad. I don't know. And like, even the casual audience doesn't care about the Suicide Squad. They kind of care about Harley Quinn, but they don't even really care about Harley Quinn. They just... They don't care enough to buy a whole game just to play as her and then 3 other characters that haven't played at. Like, I don't get the thought process there, man, behind any of this. Like, the casual audience doesn't care about Deadshot, King Shark, or Boomerang. I literally almost forgot who the other character was. It's that bad. Nobody cares about people in the Suicide Squad. The joke is that they're like all D-list characters that we don't care about. And if they die, if they all have bombs in their heads, oh, boo-hoo. Like, that's the, like... And, like, I guess the comparison with Guardians of the Galaxy exists. Sure, there hasn't been anybody who can come in and make us like those characters. Like, James Gunn did pretty well with a fair bit of the character. I mean, hell, look at Polka Dot Man. But, like, still. Like, it's not enough for... That one movie wasn't enough for me to like King Shark enough for me to be like, oh, yes, bro, let's play as King Shark and Suicide Squad. I don't care, bro. I don't give a damn. Yeah, thanks for listening to me ramble about Suicide Squad again, y'all. Don't put 100 hours into the game like I did. You will not get your money's worth. All right, peace, y'all.